Laura McGoldrick, it is really so fun to be sitting down with you. I DM'd you and was like, hey, because I'd found an excuse to interview you. And I'm like, hey, do you want to come on the podcast? And you're like, sweet as. Like, yeah.
I'm so excited. I rang Mum. I was like, you're not going to believe who's asked to interview me.
This is so much fun. And one of the reasons why we get to talk today is because we live in New Zealand. So physically it's possible, but we live in New Zealand, so our sun is really, really strong. And I am somebody who is blessed with moles. I have so many moles. I believe it's a condition. It gets its actual, and it has an actual name. It would be
What
good
is
at
it?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know what the name is.
I don't know what the name
But
is.
it's a condition.
Probably some bloke's name.
Yeah, right.
Oh, lots of moles. That's the condition I'll name after me. Yeah, I'll find out. It definitely has a name. Surely it has a name.
Surely.
Yeah, but it's signified by having more than 100 moles on your left arm. If you have more than
Let's
100
check out my
moles
left
on your
arm.
left arm, you're in, lady.
My husband's going to come home tonight. I'm going 97, 98, 99. What the hell are you doing? Just counting my moles on my left arm.
Just seeing if I've got the special condition. And so I'm somebody who grew up, and my mum was a big sunbather. She was like, yeah, sunbathing, being brown is like beautiful and healthy and good. And she did look really good, brown. So we ran around outside, and she was a very responsible woman, as far as I recollect.
Yeah.
We didn't climb too high on the trees and didn't drown in anything or anything. But I spent a lot of time outside in the sun, and we did that whole Kiwi Beach Christmas. And I remember coming across a mole that I kept an eye on, and it was my, it's my arm out the door hand, so my right hand. See, I just go left there.
Oh, yeah,
my right
definitely.
hand. My right hand, and 1 week, 3 people mentioned it to me. They were like, I'm not sure about that mole. And the funny thing is I had noticed it, like, oh, I think that might have changed. And so I went and whipped it off, and it came back as a melanoma in situ. So stage 1, caught it, and we went back, and then we cut a whole bunch of flesh out and made sure we got the whole thing to get rid of it. And so now I'm on mole watch, and at Christmas, just before this Christmas, had to go and get another 3 cut out. They're all fine, but I am in pincushion status now as a human being. Anytime somebody's upset with a mole, I'm like, get it out. And I said to Hamish, those 3 moles were fine. 3 more moles. I have got hardly any. I've only got 1,050, 562 left. Can't keep giving them away like this. Anyway, he's like, nah, every time they say there's a mole that has to come off, you just have to take it off.
Get it done.
But you're a melanoma ambassador. What is your intersection with melanoma?
So I come from a very big, beautiful family, and we're based in the South Island. And one of my beautiful cousins by the name of Amelia, when she was 12, she was diagnosed with melanoma, and she had a mole on her face. It was a very rare form of melanoma. And we were the same age, 11, 12, I think, when she first had her first mole cut out. And then it just got worse and worse and worse, and they didn't get it early enough, and it spread around her body, and she passed away. And I remember watching that as a kid, watching parts of her flesh be taken off her body and different surgeries she had to have. And it was horrific. And, you know, our family is incredibly close, and it was something that we, you know, rode out together, and the older that you get, you know, it's wrong that it happens to a child. It's absolutely wrong, and it shouldn't happen, but it does. And so for me and my family, we all now are extra careful in the sun. And roll on to when I got married. My husband, his father, Petra, passed away just before our daughter was born, and he had melanoma as well. He was a truck driver, his arm in the sun when he was driving around all the time, and he had melanoma as well. So it's something that we're acutely aware of. We are big into the 6-monthly mole checks. We go and get our moles checked. Very important. It's in the calendar every year, and I'll ring and I'll do the family. I'll book the whole family. That's my role. I'm happy for that to be my role. So I'll ring Dad, what times and dates suit you? This is what's available. Mum, boys, my brothers, Gup,
Really?
my husband. Yeah,
The whole family?
I'm the mole checker.
Really?
Well, I don't check them personally because I don't really know what I was
Well,
doing.
that's a pretty one.
But yeah, so melanoma has affected my family in more ways than one, and so it's just something that, you know, if we can raise more awareness around it. And I think, you know, people know to keep sunscreen on in the sun, but it's the reapplication of it. For me as a woman as well now, from a more you know, cosmetic sort of how I look. I now put it on. It's one of the things I put on in the morning is my sunscreen.
Winter,
SPF
summer,
50.
spring.
It doesn't matter every single day. You've just got to, because I don't. I'll got to take care of your skin.
It's an amazing thing, skin. Phenomenal. It's wild. It lets some things in and keeps most things out, and it keeps all of us in, and it lets some things out. It's just freaky.
It's the freakiest I ever thought it was during pregnancy. When you're watching this thing grow at your stomach, you're like, what in the... Is this going to go back? What?
Just the give.
The give. I mean, I've worn some stretchy pants before, but not like this. Not like this. It's good. Yeah. So skin is amazing. So the least we can do is take care of it.
I know. I hear it described sometimes as our largest organ.
I'd never thought about it like that.
I know. I think it's quite a nice way to think of it,
Yeah.
as our largest organ. I mean, like, really, it's freaking fantastic. And it has so many different layers, and it has different layers in different bits of our bodies, eh?
Yeah.
Like on our face, it's like thinner, which is a shame.
It's a real shame. Especially around these areas, I could do with a bit of that thickening up.
But I don't really think you can. But maybe it's also good because maybe then there's a little more flex and stuff. But it is profound.
Yeah, it's quite scary to think about. I think, and this is going to sound weird, but I think having kids, I'm noticing it more, is how incredible the healing. So like when they scrape their knee or whatever, you're like, wow. Wow.
And it heals from the inside
Yeah.
out. It just heals underneath up.
I can't pick scabs. Like scabs creep me out.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I'm not very mature, but my daughter will be like, Mum, I'll just pick. I'm like, no, leave it. Nah, you got it. You let your body take it. Please don't pick it.
That's good. Are you a scarer or a non-scarer?
I can scar. So I had two cesareans, and I've got a wicked scar, which I love. I'm very proud of. And that hasn't healed quite as I imagined it would. But in other areas, different parts of my body heal differently.
Yeah. I'm what you call an over-healer.
Oh.
Yeah, so I just heal too much, it turns out. Like, we used to blame, I ran through a plate glass window as a kid, and I got this what's called a bubble scar. It's where the skin looks like it's sort of bubbled on the shoulder.
Okay.
And my dad was like, the doctor was useless, took the stitches out too early. And it turns out, no, it's just me. I'm really, like, slightly too good, aka not good, at healing, overheal.
Wow.
So then my $5,000
Evolved.
scar, which is supposed to be a thin line, is that it's supposed to look like that, but actually it looks like that.
Oh, wow, wee.
Yeah. Which I reckon I should get a tattoo on it because it looks like a leaf.
It does look like a leaf.
Yeah. But that was the first one that we caught. Did you ever notice, like can you tell me what it was like with you and Pete? Like you're just carrying on, you're married, Pete's your father-in-law. He's a truck driver. He's just a good Kiwi bloke.
Well, the beautiful thing about Peter is he was your classic Kiwi guy in a lot of ways. Loved his sport, loved cricket. He was like a club legend. He played for Suburbs New Lynn, and everyone knows Peter Guptill. He's such a good cricketer and a good bloke. He'd give you the shirt off his back. He's just the kindest guy you've ever met. And he was always a she'll be right. Peter is, she'll be right. Peter, you've got a little scab thing on your arm there. Oh, she'll be right. Just keep picking it and it'll go away eventually. She'll be right. And probably didn't get things checked out when he should have, and probably had a headache because he had, it started as melanoma, and then we caught it in the secondary, which was in his brain. He had some brain tumours as a consequence of the melanoma. It had spread, but he didn't, because he was a she'll be right. There was no knowing that this is where it started, and
So when you found it, did they leave the skin alone, or did they start chopping bits of Pete out, or did they just go, hey?
So they didn't know it had come from there initially, because the first thing they found was the brain tumours because of what it was pressing on in his brain, and it was causing some issues for him, forgetfulness, those types of things. And that was where they first caught it, and by that stage, it was a little bit too late for Peter. They tried him on that drug Keytruda, but it was just too little, too late for Peter, which was horrific, because we always talk about how good a grandfather he would have been, and that would have been lovely to watch him step into that role.
Yeah, and 60's too young these days.
Oh my gosh, it's far, far too young.
And the damage was done back when. It's not like he made some bad decisions as a 58, 59-year-old
No.
and just stayed out a little long. It's cumulative, isn't it?
Oh,
Which
very
is
much
where
so.
I guess for our generation, my generation more than you, because I think we were way more sunscreen oriented, perhaps just even a decade later, 2 decades. But we were sunbathers. I grew up as a sunbather. That's just what we do. We just lay in the sun. We sunbathed at high school. We sunbathed. Sunbathing was just like a pastime.
Oh yeah, getting your tan on was still important in my age group, but I guess fake tan had come into play. Sunbeds were just starting to eke out. They weren't such a thing anymore. But boy, nothing is as bad as a bad fake tan, is there, Michael? If that goes awry around the feet and the hands, it's no good. And I tell you what, there was some
the elbows and the
very
knees.
experimental times of where you're putting it on. Being tan was important. But I think people need to realise that you can still tan, but with sunscreen on.
You can. You just tan slowly.
You just will.
So it's almost like how do you avoid the first burn as well? Like, it's summer and you're keen and you want. We're told, get some vitamin D in your skin.
Yeah.
You feel better if you're a little shade darker. Lots of people do.
Thinner. 5
very
kilos
thinner.
easy.
But that going out and just whoops-a-days, just got sunburnt. That's supposedly like quite bad.
Yeah, there does seem to be a lot of whoops-a-daisies that you hear about in terms of the sunburn, and it's good. It's just my first burn. It's just my first burn of the summer. She'll be right. But it's not. This is when you need to be wearing your sunscreen every single day. That's why it's good practice just to put it on your face every single day. I'm grateful that I'm coming into the better fake tans that you can get. And it's less of a thing to say. People still want to lie in the sun, absolutely, but I think there's maybe a little more knowledge around how that's not always so great.
I lie in the sun covered up.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Like an amumu.
Little bit.
Yeah.
I got lots of wraps, Turkish towels, those lovely linen-y towels.
Oh, yeah.
Drape them over
Caftan,
your legs.
I think. Is that
I should get one of
You need
those.
to get one of those caftan
That'd be
things.
nice.
My mum's going through a bit of a tablecloth era. That seems to be like that sort of, I don't know, what do you call it? Like crochet. There we are. Yeah. And I always say to her every time she puts it on, I'm like, I feel like Nana had that on it. She doesn't like that. Well, don't put that in. No, just joking. Sorry, Mum, love you. She brought me one for Christmas.
Oh, did
so
she?
I can join in.
Oh, there you go.
So, very grateful. Thanks, Mum.
Yeah, I think that because I basically am like, with my situation where I've had one show up, I'm like on watch now. I have to be, because the damage was done back then. It's not like, I got too much sun last summer. It's like back 20 years ago, when I was less wise.
Yes.
I was lying in the sun or not blocking in winter, or not blocking at different times, or not covering up soon enough, or getting burnt. And I'm going to reap the rewards of that now. So I have to be on guard. So essentially it's like, it's an interesting thing to try and even get your head around, like, I shouldn't sunbathe. Well, I'm not sure if I'm there yet, but I have kind of tuned into my skin will go, no more sun. Like, it literally at the end of the day, a summer day will be like, get the sun off me.
Yeah.
Like, you can feel it just. So it's like, how can I be in the sun but just like covered up? Like just wearing stuff. Like light breezy stuff.
Easy breezy.
Easy breezy
cover girl.
Coals in it.
But I suppose the good thing about it now is there is ways that you can keep tabs on everything that you have got on your body, like the mole check, and that's so important. And it costs money, but how much does your house cost? You have to just weigh up those things, and even if you can't do it every 6 months, do it every year. But it's so important to keep tabs on, and they keep the photos for you. So if you're thinking to yourself, like, I remember very distinctly, I had one on my arm, and I was like, that either hasn't been there as long as I remember, I've completely lost my mind, or it's changed significantly. I don't know which one it is. And it was exactly the same. I was just panicking because they had the photos from when I started getting my moles mapped years ago.
And I think with technology these days, I could literally start a file in my camera that says moles in it. And I take a photo of some moles every now and again.
Yeah, hell of a thing for a person to pick up your phone and go, she's got a mole folder. Imagine that.
I think I want one. Because I literally was like, I was looking at my foot the other day and I'm like, holy, I've never seen that mole there, and it's dark. It's new and it's dark. That's
was
a
it a
warning
piece
sign.
of food?
It was a small scab. I'm like, do I pick off this real faux mole, or do I wait and see? And I was like, it's itchy, because it was a healing scab. I was good to go though. I should pat myself on the back for my vigilance.
Well done. Yeah, that is. Yeah, that's important.
So this she'll be right thing is kind of it's one of our ways of being in the world as Kiwis, which we celebrate, like, not making a fuss, not drawing too much attention to ourselves, but it does have a few drawbacks, I think. Like, obviously, losing Pete is a massive drawback. And the fact that maybe we don't invite men to really pay attention to their bodies in a way that is caring. They pay attention to them in a way that is, they can move things or be protective or be strong, but we don't kind of invite men into being curious or kind towards their bodies in a way.
It's funny, I've never really thought about it like that, but you're absolutely right. We don't encourage men to love their bodies and take care of their bodies like we do.
No.
It's quite a mind shift. I've had an interesting relationship with my body over the years, learning to love it, and I don't think I loved it till I had actually my babies, because I was so thankful for what it was able to do, and I was mean to it for a very long time. Being a female, what you see, what you think you should look like. How about we just embrace how we actually look and work to that? I was trying to be something I wasn't, because I'm me. And that's what makes me so great, The she'll be right thing. I'm getting a bit sick of the she'll be right, to be honest. I think that people need to be celebrated, and things you do need to be celebrated. And if you don't feel 100%, it is okay to say that. And that's something that I think it's nice to see that more and more people are talking about, especially with men. You hear them talk about that, actually, I'm not okay. And I wish, like Peter had said, hey, I've got these headaches, but didn't want to burden anyone.
Yeah.
Didn't want to worry anyone.
Yeah.
So she'll be right.
Yeah, it's problematic, eh? I wonder too, as women, if we've allowed ourselves to care in some ways, but actually, when I hear you say I was mean to my body, can you tell me more about that?
Oh yeah, well I would either eat lots, not eat as much as I should, exercise too much, or just not exercise at all. I didn't have a balanced relationship with it, so I would almost punish it because I felt like it wasn't doing what I needed it to do. But actually, I just wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't doing the basic things that my body needs: fuel it in the right way, move it in the right way. And I think but that also probably was to do with mental health as well. Like for me, moving my body has now become sort of like a therapy for me, and I love that. It's my hour a day that I do that's for me. No phone, no distractions. Sure, I have to get up the crack of dawn before the kids wake up, but that's okay. I don't mind that. I like that. I like, sometimes I like the silence when you're doing it. Sometimes I really like the music. Sometimes I need the music as a way to... I've never finished a workout and thought, God, I wish I hadn't done that. So that's a nice thing that I know that I need to do for me to make myself feel good about myself.
It feels like that action is originating out of, I like myself, out of a place of acceptance.
Yeah.
You're not exercising to make your body go away as it is.
No.
You're exercising to make your body good as it is.
Yeah.
To be with your body in some way.
Yeah.
Like it feels like an alliance rather than a cracking the whip.
Yeah, I respect my body enough to take care of it in this way now, because I've learnt over the years that it's okay to like what I look like, and it's okay to like me just as I am. And that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. That's just the way it is.
It doesn't have to be everyone's cup of tea, does it?
But if it's not, it's actually none of my business. That's just how you feel about me, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to...
Who cares?
I'm certainly not going to learn. There was certainly a period of time when I first started doing what I do where... What do you mean people don't like me? And why would they write that down?
I'm so nice.
But they don't know me.
I'm working so hard.
I've never met them. I'm just trying my best. I'm just out here just trying to make Nana proud, and then there was a moment and there was a switch for me, and I think it was around having my first child as a wee girl, as my daughter. And I was like, this is just not an example I'm comfortable setting for her. I want more for her. I want her to grow up loving herself. And there's been certainly times where I'll sort of, try and not walk around the house naked, but that's not something I do because I wasn't proud of my body. I am now. I'm proud of what it's given me.
Yep.
I'm proud of how it takes care of me. I'm proud of what I can do with it.
Yep.
I can pump tin, I'm strong. And I'm strong because I've got kids that I want to play with and show them. I want the kids come out and work out with me sometimes in the weekends. That I've got them some little weights, and they join in and we do it together. And, I want them to know that, everyone, you talk about going to a counsellor to help with your mind. Well, the gym is sort of like that for your body. It's what it needs to do. It's what it's, for me anyway. So, having a daughter was the catalyst of change for the way I looked at my body, for sure. And so I try to walk around the house. If I haven't got a towel for the shower, I'll sort of try and walk past, and on the inside I'm going, oh my god, but I'm like, hey honey, and then try to, because I don't want her to think I've got
I'm ashamed of this.
I'm not ashamed of my body.
Yeah. No.
I look like what I look like.
Yeah, and it's good.
And it's good.
It's great even.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. No.
You have to go that far. You have to agree with me. I love that you've got there. Because I think when I had my daughter, I decided there was no dieting talk, no body talk, no complaining, no I'm fat, I'm this, I'm that. Because as women, we can say to your daughter, you've got a beautiful body, or you look so lovely, or you. But unless we're doing it, unless we're owning it, it doesn't stick the way what we do does. And we all know that, right? Actions speak louder than words. That's as old as the hills. But I didn't come home to loving my own body until relatively recently, because I think I came from this, our kind of family status quo was the cultural status quo, fat is bad, so big is bad, which is culturally insensitive, unintelligent, just plain wrong. There are people who are bigger who are just as healthy, people who are skinny who are unhealthy, and people who are dealing with genetic issues. There are so many reasons and variables and intrigue going on over there that it's actually none of my business. And so when I put on what I perceived to be a lot of weight, I would hate myself because I was now in the big category, and big was bad. It was just like this blanket kind of belief. And I realised that never ever produced, like, hating myself while I was carrying weight never produced anything positive. It never produced a sustainable way of being in the world that made me healthier. So it's like you're saying, you feast, famine, ricochet back and forward, punish, then, give up, and all of that kind of reactionary edge action.
Yeah.
Coming home to how I am now as like a 50-year-old with having had 3 babies and with some perimenopausal weight, I just feel so great.
Well, you look gorgeous.
Thanks. But I think I look gorgeous because I feel great. I think I feel great. I'm eating well. I'm doing some movement because movement makes such a difference.
Yeah.
But that making any kind of adjustment or addition out of yes and is entirely different from I gotta lose the pounds, I gotta shape up, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is just an entirely different energy.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's an absolutely different energy. And I think also when you change that energy and you change that mindset, it makes going out and moving your body however you want to do it, it makes it easier.
Totally.
Because if you look at it, it's instead of it's punishing me for putting on the pounds, instead of why don't you go, hey, what a privilege it is to be able to move my body like this. Why don't I go and enjoy it? And while I do that, I'll soak up this beautiful view as I walk around the waterfront. Or why don't I take my kids for a walk? Or at the moment, Harley, I work on the radio, so I'm on the Hits Drive show, and we are part of the Weet-Bix Kids Triathlon. So we went down, I took my daughter down to it. She said, I want to do that. I want to run like that. So we've gone and got the running shoes, and we're going to start running together. And that's going to be our thing. I mean, she'll be fitter than me, which is a bit of a concern, but that's fine. But look at it as stuff that you can do with your kids and teach them about it as well, because I don't want Harley to ever look at her body and go, oh, don't like this. This is no good. Why is that like that? Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
And I think it's like it when there's a very narrow frame. And I know we're all, the anti-social media at the moment, and, the world's going to hell in a handbasket because of social media, which of course is not. The world is just a complex place. It's
a minefield, isn't it?
It's a minefield. Don't worry, your kids are young enough. We will have figured out a bit more.
God, I hope so,
There will be. Honestly, there will be. There
has to be a shift.
Yeah, there will be a shift, and there will be fallout now. But I do think something social media has given us is a breadth of, cultures, exposure to body shapes, exposure to ideology, exposure to. So there is this ability, I think, for women to see that the script for beauty is much broader than when all of our mags, TV shows and movies were curated by a very narrow group of humans. This is the script for female beauty. If my daughter and I were talking about vagina shapes, it's actually labia, that are twins and another girl, and they were chatting to each other, and then they're like, oh, why is your vulva like that? And they were like, it's not supposed to be like that, because there were 2 of them, and they were like, this is how it's supposed to be. Where are your flappy bits? You don't have those flappy bits. Where are they? And they're like, they don't have them. So then they just went on an investigation and found out, they come in all different shapes and sizes. There's just not one ideal vulva shape. But we're told that there is. Every cartoon is
Yeah.
Just one little triangle. That's it.
It's that little,
No cute little flappy bits.
No, none of those. Barbie's really got a simple operation going on there.
Barbie's a unit. But anytime we get caught in, like, this is masculinity, this is a torso for a man, this is the chest of a man and the six-pack of him, that's not the shape men are.
No, it's not.
Like, 12 of them get to be that shape. Good on them.
and good for them.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's funny, like, I've talked a lot about the relationship with exercise. It's also my relationship with food that's changed and what I'm fueling my body with. But I don't know why I've gone on that tangent. You were just talking about vaginas. I think it threw me slightly, but I just wasn't ready for it. I'm just going to need a wine. But yeah, no.
They're good things, vaginas.
Yeah, that don't go okay.
They're really amazing.
It's that whole, just learning about the body, and I think especially after having a child and learning about how that whole process works, you're like, jeepers,
there's
body
all
is
those extra
wild.
spaces that to allow
bits and bobs, and you're like, where am I putting that child?
I know, that's called a Douglas's pouch. He got to name Douglas's pouch. Are the folds in the vagina that just sit there, like, waiting to go.
Oh, right.
If they're needed for a human to come out.
Yeah. Yeah, wild, isn't it?
Wild.
And how that your body is producing a hormone that creates the ability for your joints and everything to move so that baby can come out. It's like, wow, it really has thought of everything. It really has thought of everything.
We would say fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it is great.
Crazy.
It is wild.
Anyway, I was putting you off with my vulva talk.
No, look, I'm into it. I just didn't realise we were going to go. I'm just going to sip my coffee.
Sorry, it's on offer before 12. Oh, there we go.
No, it's almost past 12. I'll have the wine now. Thanks very much.
There's a thread runs through it. She'll be right. We've got a couple of other she'll be right attitudes that I'm wondering about. And I know that you spoke about your miscarriage. I had a miscarriage too. And at work one day when I was filming, and I didn't know how to commemorate or remember or make that baby count, because somehow it impacted me. It was real to me. Thanks. And I know that you've been through miscarriages. How was that for you, and how did you hold on to yourself?
I didn't. I think I lost myself for a bit, to be perfectly honest, because I was really lucky with my daughter. Everything was sort of as planned. And I guess when you're a working woman, and certainly when you've built a career over a period of time, I was very hell-bent on having the utmost control over when and how and what was going to happen in that pregnancy. I get pregnant today, and then we'll have the baby then, and then I'll go back to work then. That was how my first pregnancy, and by all accounts that was exactly what happened. So I was very, very lucky. I didn't realise just how lucky until we decided to try again and have another baby. And I remember it all so well, because when you've experienced being pregnant, no one else knows, but for me, it was like the second I was pregnant, my whole body changed. I knew it instantly. Everything from my fingers to my toes, like I could tell you I was pregnant. Like literally, I woke up and I was like, I'm pregnant. So if I do a test today, I tell you right now, I'm pregnant.
Wow.
But I just think, I don't know, it was just intuition, but also just knowing my body better. My relationship, when I talk about my relationship with my body, I learned a lot about it between Harley and trying to lose the baby weight. That's when I learned the most about myself and my body. So I felt very in touch with it. I was the fittest I'd ever been when I fell pregnant after Harley. I was the happiest I'd ever been. My head was in a really good space. I was loving work. I was loving life. And I was like, this is such a great thing that we're going to do here. And I went to an obstetrician, and they said, yeah, keep exercising the way you are, absolutely. It's not till it gets, your bump gets bigger that it gets in the way, and, you'll have to adapt accordingly. There's certain things. So I'm learning all about it. Great. And I remember I went to an F45 class, which I'd done the whole way through the pregnancy to date, and that was absolutely fine. It was at the early stages, so I was only about 8 or 9 weeks pregnant at this point, and it was, like just our happy little secret. You know how you sort of... I've since learned that actually I think you should tell everyone from the minute you're pregnant.
I agree.
Because you actually need that support if it doesn't go the way you hope it does. So I've gone to my F45 class, and then I've gone home, and I've taken coffee home, and I've had my decaf because now I'm pregnant, and I've taken it home. I think I had oat milk. I was very pregnant, very pregnant friendly. Yeah. And my wee girl was there, and then Guppy and I were doing sort of a quick handover, and he was going off to to go on travel and play cricket, because that's what he does. And I remember standing at the door, holding Harley, knowing I was pregnant, watching him drive down the drive, and thinking, I'm gonna do this with 2 babies soon. Like, this is amazing. I just so remember that feeling of him driving off, and it was still a little secret. He drove off, and then that afternoon I started getting a very sore stomach, and I rang the obstetrician. He said it's probably just because it's still relatively early and your body's just remembering that it has to start to stretch and move, and it's about the time, like, you'll be fine. And then woke up the next day, was not feeling fine, started bleeding, couldn't get hold of Guppy because he was playing in the game, and I just knew something was wrong straight away. I think once there was blood, it was like, oh dear, oh no. And then my family had gone away, and I was all very alone. The iPad did a lot of parenting that day for me, while I basically just lay on my bathroom floor and miscarried the baby. And I didn't tell anyone because there was an element of shame for me. This body that I'd been so mean to, maybe it was karma because I'd been so horrible to it for such a period of time. I think in a lot of ways, part of me felt like it wasn't real. It had happened to somebody else maybe, and I just saw it from a different, I was in a very strange place with it. And then I became obsessed with becoming pregnant. So then it was just an obsession of getting pregnant. Like, we've got to get pregnant now. I need to be pregnant yesterday because the timings, this is not working. This is not part of the plan. I don't have miscarriage because I had a perfectly healthy, easy pregnancy. Well, it wasn't easy, but pregnancy last time. So why isn't this happening? And then obviously COVID happened, and then I got pregnant again. And this time, everything seemed fine. I was really sick. I was the sickest I'd ever been of my pregnancy experience, and the doctor kept saying to me, because you couldn't go in because of COVID. That's good. No, the sicker you are, the better it is, because
it's like a comfort. It shows that you're actually pregnant.
Yeah, it's growing. It's all changing. Obviously, things are working out. And I so crooked. My eyelashes started falling out. My eyebrows, my hair.
Heavens.
There was a lot of vomit.
Wow.
We were living with my mum and dad at the time because we sold our house just before the lockdowns happened. Yeah, naturally, which was great. I missed the boom. That would have been nice. Sold it, just. And anyway, I remember Mum coming in to talk to us, and I just had my head in the toilet, and she's just carrying on as normal because I was always sort of sick, which was. But it was actually, as it transpired, I went in to have a scan at I think it was about 11 weeks, and I hadn't had one yet, and the baby had died, and that was what was making me sick, because the sac was growing, but the baby had died, so I had a miscarriage, and that was probably. I don't know if that was worse than, and then having to have the surgery to remove the baby. And there's just little pockets of bits that I have very vivid memories of. So going into the surgery, you have to go by yourself, COVID, lockdown, no one else knew I was in there because I hadn't told anyone I was pregnant because I hadn't hit the 12 weeks yet. So you go in, and then I remember being wheeled into, actually the other thing that stuck out to me is that every single one of the nurses or doctors who came in, and there was a female, had all experienced a miscarriage in some way, shape or form. And I was like, geez, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't think we were the only one? When I had my first miscarriage, it was sort of have a lemonade popsicle, put a wheat bag on it, and you'll be right. This time was a little bit more serious with the surgery, having to remove the baby. But I remember going in, and on the whiteboard that they have in there, it said evacuation of the uterus. And I remember just sobbing, going, I don't want to have it evacuated. I want this baby. I want it. I want this baby. I want this baby. And it was horrific. And then I just didn't handle anything particularly well after that. I was very sad all the time.
Yeah. And
then again with the shame and all these different moments. What have I done? What did I do to deserve this? Where did I get it wrong? What was it? The exercise? Because for the second pregnancy, I just didn't exercise. For the second miscarriage, I knew it just wasn't going to move at all. I'll just sit here for 9 months and that'll be fine. So I was racking my brain with what I did there. And obviously I'm in a privileged position in a lot of ways to have a platform in which I could talk about it. And I just made a decision. I talked to my husband about it, and I said, I don't want anyone to feel this alone, because I love you, but you've got no idea what I am going through. Because it happened around you. It didn't happen to you, I do. And I'm sure maybe, with your husband, they can't relate. They don't know what it's like when your body gets taken over by this other little being that all of a sudden becomes, and so I decided to, once I felt confident enough, and actually as it transpired I got pregnant. I'm very good at getting pregnant.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you very much. When I got pregnant again and I got a comfortable amount through the pregnancy for me, in my mind, I felt comfortable enough to talk about it on radio, and the response was quite unbelievable actually. And it was hard too in a lot of ways, because I want to talk to everyone about their experience, but everyone's experience is so different with it, and I can't take anyone's pain away as much as you'd love to be able to do that for everyone. And one of the things I've learnt in my life is that it's actually sometimes quite good to sit in your grief instead of the she'll be right. And I did. Sometimes it would hit me when I'd least expected. I'd be in the wardrobe, and I'd just have to sit and shut the door a little bit and just have a wee cry, or in the shower or on the drive home. And it's okay just to sit and have a really good cry, because that's what I needed to do. And I have since learnt, for me personally, in my experience, the babies that I lost in getting my son, it was always Teddy that was trying to get to me. It's just for whatever reason that vessel wasn't quite right to get him here. And he is my soulmate. He belongs to me. And so I'm so grateful that I kept the faith and was able to have him, because he's so special. Yeah.
That's a big haerenga. That's a decent journey to go through. And I love that your response was to reach out in your grief and pain in the hope that other women aren't alone in theirs. And I think it's such a generous and profoundly important move for us to say, this is not just me succeeding, and this is not just me, pregnant and winning at life, or whatever and winning at life. This is actually me living my life with all its joys and all its sorrows, and that the sorrows deserve space in the same way the joys deserve space. They're both part and parcel in a good way of our lives. And I hear you, because I mean, even in both ways, that the first reaction to shame or blame, like to shame yourself, you've failed as a woman, or you've done something, and blaming yourself, or the shame of this had all this potential but now it's gone, and I am to blame. So they're sort of intertwined, aren't they? That and they don't actually answer the question. They don't actually bring us home to the fact that things happen in life that we have no control over. There's no control. Sometimes the body lets go of a pregnancy because it literally wouldn't survive. So the body says, this one we let go of. And sometimes we lose babies because of other reasons. So I think that, I'm with you. I had talked about it in another podcast, was invited around to a kind of a miscarriage commemoration where we all just sat and cried and laughed and were together remembering this baby that didn't get to be. And I got my pregnancy test out of the rubbish bin, and was like, this baby existed. This was my baby. And just because this baby isn't here now doesn't mean I have to pretend this baby didn't exist. And so I said to my husband, we have to do something. We just have to remember. Made him sit in the lounge and be sad all night, I think. Just try to acknowledge the life and to acknowledge the grief. And like you say, find a way to release it, to sort of almost offer the grief back. And that validates, I think, the fact that was a life that didn't make it, Yeah.
And that was the thing that shocked me the most, is how many people would go, I was only 10 weeks pregnant. No, that was 10 weeks. You had a baby there, and that was a baby, and that was your baby. And I think that is an important thing to remember. And but I was actually, I had friends' mothers reach out to me saying, Laura, I would never have talked about having a miscarriage. You just get on and did it. And with my first miscarriage, when I was still bleeding, I went to work the next day and stuff, and you do these things and you're like, why did I put myself through that? What would I possibly put myself through that for? Because it was the she'll be right, you just get on with it, it'll be fine. No one talks about it, so you can't ring up work and go, I've had a miscarriage, I'm sorry, can I not come into work? Because work would have responded very differently to how I thought they would have, but in my mind I'd created this thing for myself, like, I didn't tell you I was pregnant, so I can't tell you I've now miscarried this baby. Whereas work would have gone, take as long as you like, I'm pretty sure. It's a terrible thing, this isolation that we put ourselves in around that whole miscarriage thing. It's frightening how often it happens.
I think it's frightening too I think you need to invite safe people into your vulnerable spaces, but vulnerability is in fact this undergirding fabric of life. We are vulnerable. We're vulnerable to a flood or to a miscarriage or to, we're vulnerable to life happening, and that we aren't alone, that we aren't the only ones who are vulnerable. Everybody is, and that in fact vulnerability is in some ways such an incredible strength, because despite all this vulnerability, we carry on, and carry on together, and carry on learning, and carry on growing, and carry on making our way through both the tough times and the high times.
I think for a long time I thought vulnerability was a weakness, but actually it is, like you mentioned, it is a strength. To be vulnerable and to be okay with being vulnerable, it's an incredibly strong move. And I think especially for my kids, I want them to know that mum can be vulnerable, and sometimes it's really hard.
Yeah.
And
sometimes it's hard.
Sometimes it's really hard. But I think that's important. And it was funny. I studied to be an actress. It's going really well. And and one of the things that they always said to me is, Laura, you've got to just show us a little bit more vulnerability. And I'd be like, I'm funny, not vulnerable, thanks. I can do the comedy. And she wrote that, but I've been doing the vulnerability. And it was honest to God a thing that I did. And I think talking about miscarriages was the most vulnerable I'd ever been. In a platform where I share my stories with my friends. I'm probably a little too vulnerable. They're probably sick of me.
Nah, they're not.
But it was always a thing, and so I was scared to be vulnerable. So, but I've since learned that it is a strength, and there's a power in being vulnerable.
How does that play out though when you're working in a space that's lots about men's sport? Traditionally, you've covered a lot.
You don't be vulnerable there. Now, come on. There's no vulnerabilities. I cry in sport too, which is terrible, because I just am either so happy for them, or I feel their pain, or because being married to an athlete, I see how hard he works and what it means to him, and people don't often realise for them it's just a person representing their country doing their sport, but I see the hard graft and what goes on and what we're eating, and all the exercise, the extra training sessions, the work he does for his mental health, all these things, so he can be the best version of himself. And that's not always going to go the way you want it to. Even
when you've done everything you possibly can.
All of the things. Sometimes you will fail. And actually in a sport like cricket, you'll fail more often than you succeed, which is it's a frightening statistic, really, if you think about it. But that's just the way it is. That's just sport, and that's why we love it, because it takes us on a journey. It's the theatre of sport,
and the jeopardy,
and who knows, and oh my lord, and here we go, and not a super over. Yeah, so the sport thing was interesting. I certainly developed a thick skin through it.
Because did you get shit from the sidelines?
Oh yes.
What kind of what?
The way I look.
So people making comments.
The way I look. How I
like you look very nice today, Laura.
Exactly like that was how they'd say it. Yeah. And with alcohol and large groups of men.
Showing off to each other.
What was always most interesting was when the women would say stuff. Because you're like, God. And I was actually talking to Ricky Swannell, who's a broadcaster I work with, and we were talking about there's been a real shift in the last, I'd say 5 years, where women are very good at championing other women now. And if you don't want to champion other women around you, you'll get left behind. And I work with some brilliant female broadcasters. I think we were all often pitted against each other. And I've just noticed it particularly, we were talking about it, how there's a real change. Like, I am more than comfortable to come on this podcast and say I think that Ricky Swannell is one of the best broadcasters we've got, and I don't feel threatened by saying that out loud. I 100% believe it, and she's brilliant, and she's killing it on the world stage. And I'm proud just to sit and watch her pave the way for other women who might want to do that. That wouldn't always happen before. Now, what was it like for you? Do you find that when you worked in the tally side of it, that women were?
Well, I think that if we bought into the mentality of there's only a very small space, and so there's only one or two women up there, so then that's it. It's you or someone else. I think that's when that's like you've got to pull somebody down to get up. Whereas my perception is there is enough love, there is enough attention, there is enough of everything to go around. Like, there is enough. We even know there's enough food in the world to go around. It's just that some people have more than they need.
It's COVID. I just got a bit panicky. I bought a lot of tuna. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Share, Laura, share.
Do you need some tuna?
But do you know what I mean? Like, there's this, and I think especially with attention, like, there's enough. So I was one to promote other women or support other women, or try and encourage them to to take a step up, yeah, but probably less pitting in terms of there were, I think, in a space like sports where there were so few.
Yeah,
then it's
yeah.
like hard won, and now that you're here, you got to stay. You know, like I think there was probably a different pressure on you guys.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I think you did right. But now it's a really lovely place to be because we do champion each other. So yeah. So I did to answer your question. Yeah, I did get a lot of grief from the sidelines. It would either be about what I look like, how I got to the position that I'm in.
Right, yeah.
And look,
which would
probably
involve sleeping with somebody, I suspect.
Multiple. No, that's what the suggestion always was.
Yeah.
If it wasn't written down, it was yelled at me. And look, I'm very aware of marrying a cricketer and what that looked like, but I really like him.
Yeah, he's
he's actually a great guy. So actually had nothing to do with work, but
the fact that he plays cricket is not your fault.
It's not my fault actually. And if anything, we just really like cricket. But yeah, look, I've learned a hell of a lot about myself and how tough I am. And I am a lot tougher than anyone gives me credit for. And I had to learn very fast how to do that. And I hit that, I would sort of use humour as a way to deflect from how much initially it hurt. When people would say stuff to me. But now much to my mother's disgust, every now and again I'll bite back. I'll say the odd thing here and there. Again, it was around pregnancy. I remember very specifically there was a thing on the Herald. Never read the comments. And there was, God knows, all sorts of speculation about, who was the father and whatever. And you're like, oh, God, give me a break. Anyway, but there was this one, and I clicked on the profile and looked. It was fun. It used to make me chuckle that most of these men, grown men who would write these things about me, had children and daughters, and they'd be on their profile picture of their Facebook page, and you'd be like, right, gosh, I hope no one goes to your daughter's work and yells that at her or writes this on the internet about her. But there was one who was a groundskeeper at one of the cricket grounds I was working at that day, and it was like, oh, don't make it too easy for me. So I got my hair and makeup done, not especially for this moment because I was going on the telly, went flying around the boundary to the groundskeeper's shed, and I just said, I just thought I'd come and ask you directly, who was the father then? Because I am absolutely perplexed as to who it must be. If it's not my husband and the guy I've been with for the last 7 years, who is it? Because I better make some calls. And I said, your mum must be so proud. Because what a thing to write about a person you don't know at all. So good for you. It's so funny when you face to face. But yeah, so mum didn't love when I did that.
That sounds fabulous.
Oh look, it was a great moment for me. Just quietly, I can pretend it wasn't, but it was. But it's I don't do that so much anymore.
But there is something about that, eh? Like where you're like, I'm just going to show up in all of my humanity
with my hair and makeup done for work.
Ask the question.
Sorry, I'm just wondering what you thought.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, what were you thinking? Look, and there's a lot of females who have experienced similar things, and we've probably all done the she'll be right, which we shouldn't do because that's not okay. What happens there, and I mean. Yeah, I learned how to be very, very resilient. There was another comment that I got. I remember walking around the boundary, and it was so sad because I had a real girl power moment. My daughter was in the pavilion. I had to go and breastfeed her. I'd just finished my first cross. My mum was in the pavilion, and I was walking around the boundary, and a man yelled out to me, "Did you have the baby or did you eat the baby?" Because I still hadn't lost the weight. Well, I'd had the baby 4 weeks prior, so that was probably why I hadn't lost the weight. And I was like, wow, here I am just like super proud that I was out of the house.
Totally, it's a big deal.
You going to yell at me? Oh, wow, yeah. Went and cried in the toilets that day, but that was the hormones, I'm sure. But I've copped a bit of grief over the years.
Is it changing? Has it changed?
No. Oh, no, not that I've seen. Oh, I suppose online, maybe there's just not as much about me now. And with COVID, I haven't been at the grounds as much as I used to be. I've probably tuned it all out now. Yeah. I don't go looking for it. I think in the early stages when you're probably a bit like, I went looking for it, but I don't now, which is a nice place to be.
It is a nice place to be.
Blissfully ignorant.
Because essentially, when people say stuff like that, they are not talking about you. They are talking about themselves. And I know that can be hard to get our heads around.
I think they got some bigger issues going on there if that's what you think is okay.
Yeah.
Good luck to your kids.
But how do we live our lives and essentially be responsible for what we say and think and how we are in the world, and understand that what is coming out of other people's mouths originates from their bodies and their ways of seeing
and how they feel about themselves.
It doesn't really have a lot to do with us. And I think we spend so much time worrying about what people do think about us when they're really thinking about themselves. But when they say stuff, it's like, actually, you're talking about yourself. You're projecting your stuff onto the world, like I project my stuff onto the world. So I'm going to make sure my projector's as clean as possible, as well as possible, la, la, la.
Yeah, it's a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves. Yeah. And I have learned that. And I'm actually very comfortable with that now. So if you want to come to my work and yell at me, I probably won't hear because I'm not listening. I'm not listening for it now. If you want to stop and talk to me and tell me how great you think my husband is or how cute my kids are, I'll absolutely have a conversation with you about it. But I don't hear the bad stuff anymore because I choose not to. Yeah. I'd rather not. Like you say, it's literally got nothing to do with me. And like I said earlier, your opinion of me is also none of my business. If that's how you want to feel about me and that makes you feel better and you can go to bed at night thinking, God, I really dislike that Laura McGoldrick. Well, good for you. Go well. I don't have any feelings about that anymore. I used to, but there are things I can control and there are things that I can't. And I'd rather worry about the things that I can't control.
I like it. I think we can all take something from that. Just love it. Just unhook that caboose.
Well, once you realise that, I think it's quite a weight off your shoulders.
It is, isn't it?
You can walk around with your head held high.
And you can spend more time going, has that mole changed?
Yeah, what's that? Oh, I better get that in my mole folder.
Hang on, I'll take a photo of it and I'll file it on the mole.
In the mole album.
I'm going to start a mole album. I'm going to call it Mole Laura album.
Yeah, I'm going to send you pictures of my moles.
Yes, please. Yeah. I have to have two folders.
Laura's moles.
My moles. Yeah. My moles, Laura's moles.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, which is, what would Laura McGoldrick, she's 85, and I don't know, maybe she's at a cricket game.
Oh, Lord.
Still. Maybe she's holding some grandchild's hand. I don't know.
God, I hope so.
Yeah, same. Anyway, just putting it out there, kids. No pressure.
Harley, you're 5. Just relax. You got plenty of time, girl.
But what does your 85-year-old vibrantly alive, still moving in the morning, Laura McGoldrick, say to you today?
I think she's telling me that it's okay to say no to the odd thing, and it's really important to be present because time is so precious. And I'm learning that the older I get, which seems cruel because I wish I knew that a little bit earlier. But I think she's telling me to also be really proud of who I am and who I've learned to be. And that's just me. Because it took me a long time to realise that I don't have to be anything that anyone wants me to be. I can just be myself. And that's absolutely perfect. And I think, telling me just more to accept that. Because, you go through those stages of, worrying, is this how I should do it? Is it, just do it how you want to do it and how it feels right to you. God, she talks a lot, doesn't she?
Which is one of her gifts.
Yeah. If she could teach me how to rein it in from time to time, would be good. No, I think that self-acceptance and to be proud of who I am.
Sounds like you and your 85-year-old are going to get on great.
I think so. A few gins.
Yeah.
A few gins. Yeah. And the sun of the cricket. Well, that'd be nice.
Maybe with an umbrella, because she'll be protecting her skin.
Actually, I'll have one of those big hats. You've seen those hats are basically it's like wearing a parachute.
That's a great hat.
That's so fabulous.
I have a very big hat.
It's all, the bigger the hat, the better.
Yeah, you can get your shoulders under those puppies.
Oh my God, and the kids under you. Just tuck in here. Come on, Teddy, in you come.
Awesome. Thanks so much for chatting.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, loved it.